Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the APO Productivity Talk. The APO is the leading international organization tasked to promote productivity, foster innovation, and promote economic transformation across our 21 member countries, with our headquarters and our secretariat based here in Tokyo, Japan. So we are here again for another very interesting productivity talk. Today's topic is on transforming businesses in the new digital age. I'm Joshua Lau, your host from the APO Secretariat here in Tokyo, Japan today. As we all know, productivity is at the heart of every business. So the question is, how can digital technologies further enhance business performance and business profits? As countries continue to be affected by the pandemic, businesses and employees must transform to adapt to the new digital age. We also know that businesses undergoing digital transformation, they do face issues such as upskilling workers to meet future challenges. There are many challenges ahead. Artificial intelligence, drone technology, autonomous technology, laser technology, fiber photonics. So companies also need a fresh perspective on how science and technology advances. So to bring us more to this topic today, we have the honor of inviting Professor Dr. Sze Yun Set and Tetsuya Ted Yamamoto with us to share insights on how organizations, enterprises, and SMEs can adapt to the new environment and some of the lessons that can be learned. So, good afternoon, Ted, and good afternoon, Professor Set. How are you doing
Hello,
today?
good afternoon.
Very good. Good afternoon, Joshua.
Yeah. So allow me to introduce Mr. Ted Yamamoto first. So Ted Yamamoto is Japan's top VC investor. As a matter of fact, in 2020, Forbes Japan Midas list puts him as the top #1 venture capital fund manager. He actually had an annualized capital gains through UTech, his venture capital fund firm, which he works for, of over $100 million US. He's currently the managing director and co-founder of dxdp Ventures Incorporated Japan. I will let him discuss with you why he used dxdp later on. He's going to explain later on. And next, we have Professor Sze Yun Set. Hi, Professor Set. Professor Set is associate professor and the leading thought leader in laser science, laser optics, and fiber photonics. He's also the co-head of Yamashita Set Research Lab at the Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology, the University of Tokyo. So without further ado, I would like to pass the time over to Mr. Ted Yamamoto, followed by Professor Sze Yun, and then we will have a live Q&A session with our live viewers today. So, Mr. Ted Yamamoto, I would like to pass the floor over to you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you, Joshua, for introducing me. And thank you very much for this great opportunity to participate and discuss about transform business in the new sort of digital age. But I'd like to focus on the innovation field based on my experience. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Ted Yamamoto. I'm based in Japan, and I have been a venture capitalist for the past 24 years. I was investing for 11 years at Mitsui & Company's venture unit. And most recently, until end of last year, I was with a firm called UTech, which stands for the University of Tokyo Edge Capital. And at UTech, I've been investing in early stage deep tech companies, focusing around robotics, autonomous systems, IoTs, AI, and those fields. In Japan, and as well as in Singapore, and also in the US. And I had one investment in the UK most recently. I left UTech at the end of last year, and from this year, I am starting my new company called dxdp Ventures, which aim is to create new companies out of uncertainties. Now that's where I brought the name from, because I was a physicist in training for my undergrad days, and I like Heisenberg principle. So I'd like to create a new companies out of nothing through this uncertain principle type of idea, and build these companies to companies with impact to the society. while I sort of work on starting my new own firm, I also am studying for an executive MBA at Oxford right now. Please move to the next slide, please. Next slide, yeah. So let then me talk about the deep tech venture capital landscape in Japan. We had about $4 billion investment into startups in 2019 in Japan, which was 5x increase since what we had back in 2010. So quite a growth in the past 10 years in the venture capital investment field. And amongst the startups sort of or ecosystem, the Japanese government has been promoting and encouraging Japanese universities to create and spin out new companies based on the research done at these Japanese universities. And now we have about 2,500 startups created out of Japanese universities as in 2019 based on this government effort and initiative. And to support these university-related startups, we have about $2 billion university sort of affiliated or related venture capital firms investment dollars. And these money are being put into supporting these deep tech startups coming out of universities. And the firm I worked for, UTech, again, this stands for the University of Tokyo Edge Capital, was a leading venture capital in these university-related startups ecosystem with total asset under management about $780 million started back in 2004. And at UTech, the firm has been investing in companies coming out of the University of Tokyo, but as well as companies coming out of other Japanese universities. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the firm has been investing in the US, Singapore, India, and UK these days. And over the past 17 years, UTech funded more than 110 startups. And out of that, I think 13 companies went IPO with total valuation more than $15 billion US, as well as the good sort of MA exit of about 12 companies. And the company UTech funded were bought by companies like Google or Baidu. So UTech has been very successful in sort of creating innovation out of Japanese university or research. And or making impact to the society, and I mean I'm very proud of that, and UTech will be continuing doing that. And if you could move to the next slide, I would like to explain a few examples of the companies I was involved at UTech to sort of have some discussion around. First company I would like to introduce is a company called Mujin Inc. This company is creating an intelligent robot controllers for industrial robots, with mission to make intelligent industrial robots available for everyone to increase the productivity in the manufacturing and logistics and all the kind of fields where you can sort of bring robots into. The company was founded back in 2011 by two co-founders, and one of the founding CTO was from the United States, and he was doing a postdoc research at the University of Tokyo around his research done at Carnegie Mellon University, where he got his PhD in robot motion planning. It's basically how to maneuver robot sort of arms and manipulators most efficiently without any teaching. And he found opportunities to apply his motion planning technology to the industry robots widely used in Japan. You know, Japan has been leader in deploying industry robots in manufacturing sector, starting from the automotive or sector, and we have very high-end robot sort of hardware manipulators in the world. But no, Mujin built the brain part for these robots with their core software, including the motion planning algorithm, so that if you combine the software brain to this high-end robot manipulators, Mujin achieved these robots to do random picking tasks without any teaching, real time. And this was the first of a commercialized case of such technology, and they got deployed into companies like JD.com in its Shanghai's fully automated warehouse, as well as companies like Uniqlo, the apparel giant warehouse, replacing the human task of doing picking with this robot automated sort of systems. Which obviously contributed to significantly to the increased productivity, and this is especially sort of important in Japan in light of reducing population and heavily aging society. So we are very proud to be able to support this kind of company from the scratch. And the company is still growing even after our exit through MBO back in 2019. If you could move to the next slide, I would like to talk about the next company called ACSL. This is an industrial drone company started out of Chiba University in Japan back in 2013. Professor Nonami at Chiba University has been the leader in this drone research field in the world. And the company was created based on his core proprietary or autopilot algorithm utilizing nonlinear control system functions. The company was started by the professor, but as UTech, we made investment into this company in 2016. And at the time of UTech's investment, the professor was acting as a CEO, but we made it our condition that we bring in professional management into the company after our investment as UTech. And right after the investment, we searched for the professional management candidate. We are lucky to find our friends from McKinsey Tokyo office to join this company, initially as a CEO, and then CFO, and now the CEO is assumed by this new management team brought in after investment. And with the new professional management team, together with our investment back in 2016, we worked with the management team and founding team to build a business around industrial drones and create solutions sold to large corporate clients. And we are able to now take this company public onto Tokyo Stock Exchange Mothers Market back in 2018, only 2.5 years after our initial investment. And this became the world's first drone IPO, and it was a very significant event. And the beauty was, they were combining very high-end Japanese drone components together with proprietary, or self-made, very high-end autonomous pilot, autopilot, or flight sort of a controller system. Together with system like SLAM, so that you can let these drones fly autonomously indoors under GPS-denied environment. And together with this, now we are able to build a solution for large corporate clients, like in the field of inspections, and also potentially deliveries of tasks. And these delivery as well as inspection tasks being done by human beings, which is unproductive, improductive, and costly. but you can replace these tasks with robots like drones. And sometimes these tasks were done under a very dangerous sort of environment, risking human lives. But drones can take up the human sort of or dangerous task or repetitive tasks and increase productivity. So again, this is another example. Or we work with a researcher at the Japanese University of Chiba. In Chiba, and created a value out of the technology, which I call innovation. If you could move to the next slide. So now I'd like to talk about what makes an innovation possible, because the two examples I explained are the successful ones, but more important thing is that we have more unsuccessful failed sort of cases behind the scene. And I think usually we talk about only the successful ones, but more important are these unsuccessful trials, right? Because together with those failed effort, you come up with these successful cases out of these many failures. So I showing here the quote from Mr. Taleb in his book called Antifragile, which I think captures the heart of the innovation sort of process. He talks about how the industrial revolution sort of took place out of the UK, and also how US has been leading the innovation sort of field around Silicon Valley. And the simple secret is how you take risks, right? Risk taking is the key, and trial and error is the key, and have no shame is the key. So you shouldn't sort of feel any shame in failing through trials, and you can fail and you can start again. But only these through these trial and errors and failures, you'll have new sort of innovation coming out of these trials. And I think I'd like to sort of reiterate this innovation sort of secret, the process, because even the Taleb or Mr. Taleb also talks about the Japan situation, because I feel Japan recently has been sort of struggling to come up with innovation, and one of his analysis that Japanese people feel shame for failures, right? And we like to avoid or try new things in order not to fail. And that sort of makes us risk averse and try to hide sort of risks. And these risk will sort of build up and expose in the end, which I think is very true. But as Taleb mentions, in Japan, I think we used to have respect for the failing heroes, a notion so-called nobility of failures. So I'd like this to bring back this idea of failing. There's no shame in failing. Failure is failing, and trying is very honorable things. And through only trial and failures, you have more options and optionalities. And out of that, innovation will happen. And that's the only way, I think, is how you transform business. And together, Japan working together with or Asian countries through APO, I think we have a lot of opportunities to sort of innovate hardware manufacturing sector combined with new business or transformation and software kind of approach. So thank you very much. That's all for me. And I'm
thank you so much, Ted. Especially the part when you mentioned about Nassim Nicholas Taleb's very famous book, The Antifragile. And it reminds me of another just as equally famous book that he has written, which is Black Swan. So he actually spurs us and propels us to be Black Swan robust societies. What he meant by that is to be willing to be resilient, to take the necessary risks, like what you said, having no shame with failures on trials and errors, and also to have a judicious use of optionality where necessary. So I particularly felt that you were just too humble You didn't give yourself enough credit because the truth of the matter is Japan Incorporated has done admirably well, spectacularly well, despite the 2 decades of deflation. They always respect the Yamamoto Damashi spirit, the Takumi spirit, the spirit of craftsmanship, and the degree of perfection is something which the world over and countries all over the world are learning from. And I have to say that even until now, I am very much in awe of this Japan Incorporated. So thank you so much, Yamamoto-san, for your very good lowdown on how to transform businesses through digital technologies, innovation in this new digital age. Later on, we will also be getting some questions from the live viewers. They have directed certain questions just for Ted. So without further ado, now I want to pass over the time to Professor Sze Yun. So Professor Sze Yun is an associate professor and leading research scientist in laser science, laser optics, and fiber photonics. And he will be talking about how to transform businesses in the new digital age using disruptive technologies like laser science, laser optics, and fiber photonics, and how they can be applied in various economic sectors that we see today. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Professor Sze. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshua. It's really a pleasure that being invited to take part in this productivity talk. So my name is Sze. I'm from the University of Tokyo. I would like to give my thought and my experience to you all about my side of the story. So let me give a brief introduction, next slide, about myself very quickly. Yes, I'm educated in the UK in engineering. I did a PhD in electronic engineering and laser technology. So that was back in the 98, 99. I came to Japan for a year to do my postdoc, well, 2.5 years, in fact. And during that time, I get to know Japan back in 1998. I went to America briefly for a year to join a startup back in 2001. That's when they have this 9/11 that get me back to Japan again very quickly. So my journey was short in America. So when I came back to Japan, I actually joined one of the first university startup from the University of Tokyo back in 2002. That was the time that the previous Koizumi government proposed that university technology should be made use of, and they proposed that they would plan to have 1,000 university startup in 5 years, and that goal was achieved very handsomely. As Ted was saying that in 2019, we already have 2,500 university startups. There's a really great initiative that was proposed during that time. And we were one of those companies during that time. The company went through a lot of the usual thing that a startup would go through. Basically, there's a lot of learning curves, making losses in the beginning. So the company actually, I've been for 15 years. The last 10 years, I was the CEO and the CTO. We actually make quite a lot of losses in the beginning, $6 million in effect, before we managed to learn how to run a company and to make profit. But of course, as a startup, the VC's money that we actually had gathered, they will have to exit because it's taken too long for us to learn. So we were not one of these 10% of IPO candidates or another 10% of huge M&A, but we were doing all right. So by the end of my tenure at 2015, we were making a revenue of about $10 million and happily at 20% of gross profit, which is pretty good for a small company of 20 people. Unfortunately, during that 15 years of my time there, there's massive dilutions due to a lot of investment that we have been receiving. And so it was not worthwhile for me to stay any longer. I sold all my share and I returned back to the university back in 2016. And now I'm exploring new area, new technology, and also running a course on university entrepreneurship. So yeah, we'll click that a bit. So I'm both a researcher and also a startup entrepreneur. So I have 2 backgrounds right now for my experience. So one of the background I'd like to talk about today is in line with the problem that we face in Japan, which is the number of workforce is not increasing. In fact, it's reducing over the past 10 years compared to overseas. So we see a reduction in productivity, and that is really a big problem. The next slide will outline that, especially in manufacturing, that we actually see a 2% shrinking in the number of people back counted in 2008 to 2018. Now that is bad for Japan as a whole because of the aging population. And that's why, as Ted was talking about, automation, robotics has become one of the key technology that is going to help Japan going through this tough transition that we face right now. The next slide will show that one of the proposal that we're talking about, it's massive industrial automation and through digital technologies. And one of the things that my company previously was working on was on car manufacturing. So using conventional camera system, which is very conventional, we actually propose something more advanced. So the next slide we will talk about. At that time, if you go to the next slide, we actually look at different 3D scanning technology. So amongst all these different laser technology, one of them that was not really covered in terms of long range, high resolution, and we actually explored those 3D system for this industrial application. So next slide, we'll talk about the idea that we actually proposed at that time. Is actually to resolve problem of manufacturing in the automobile industry. And one of the things that they would like to do is actually the body manufacturing, which involve a lot of welding. Every time you go through a stage of extra welding because of the 3D structures, the car would deform slightly. So there are constant adjustment being made in the robotic systems. And they need to evaluate that. They have test systems, which is called offline system using camera. And we are proposing the most advanced laser system that actually allow you to measure using a remote laser very accurately. So you allow you to actually capture the measurement on every single unit, not by sample anymore. So this advanced 3D laser scanner, to the next slides, would actually work pretty well in this scenario. So if you click the button again, we show the system diagram, is that we will be placing advanced laser scanner system all around the factory, and that allow us to measure it remotely and scan it at will. So we have lots of freedom to do whatever we like. So if you change the car model in the same production line, we simply update the software. So this is powered by digital technologies. So it's highly flexible. It's not a camera system that you have a place that you have to place the system. It is a free scanning system, which make it really advanced at that time. In fact, it was too advanced that it was not massively deployed at that time. Also due to the fact that in 2008, there was this Lehman shock that actually threw back advanced car manufacturing investment. Now they are slowly coming back. So next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more about these systems. Laser system empowered by digital technologies would allow us to visualize hardware shape, for example, in something called point clouds. And this allows us to see exactly what is going on altogether. Next slides. For one example that we could see the deformation of the laser welding system, for example, you can see all this shape and deformation during the whole process, which you can then get into, analyze that and improve it. And next, I'm going to talk a little bit more about further of using laser technology in other heavy industries, such as the steel industry. And furthermore, if you go to the next slides, we'll be talking about advanced laser system, advanced innovation that go beyond that. So what do I mean by that? So next slide, we'll talk about the laser research that we do in our lab. If you click the button again, we try to replace the most advanced, what we call ultra-fast femtosecond laser system with fiber laser, which is as small as in the palm of your hand. And what would that give us? It would give a low cost, very compact size, and power efficient. So that is really important for contributing to new business model and also for productivity. Next slide, we'll be showing you the typical application. That one of them is biomedical application, that we actually have laser system to allow us to do a medical diagnostic system that allow us to check all parts of our bodies. Next slide, I will tell a little bit further about what that exactly is. So something called optical coherent tomography. So this is a laser scanning system that would also be applied to industry, not just biomedical. For example, that allows us to look at the thickness of silicon wafer, or MEMS, some micromechanical system device that would need that inline measurement to look at the thickness while you do manufacturing. And this is crucial in terms of process control and also for productivity. Next, we'll be quickly looking into one of the recent applications, which is for cell phone production. Cell phone production is now going into the next phase, which involves they are removing a lot of screws now. So they'll be putting a lot of glue right now. So this kind of system would allow us to actually look through the glue if you see any micro bubbles or any deformation that would affect your quality. And these are important systems to deploy. Next slide, we show some figures on, for example, we will be able to allow the user, the production line, to look at the thickness of the glue they apply so that they will stick your glass to your smartphone. This is just one example. Next slide, we see other example of laser technology that actually go beyond measurement. We're actually doing microprocessing. If you can make the laser higher power in shorter pulse speeds, we call it femtosecond pulses, that would allow us to machine glasses, for example, sapphire glasses, for example, which is on your smartphone. Really hard piece of glass that is really hard to cut with usual blade. And they are no consumable if you use laser technology. That's drastically improve productivity because laser is maintenance free. Basically, the light will just cut through your glass or drill a small little nozzle holes in your whatever metallic surface as well. Going to the next phase, we actually also explore biomedical industry. One of the key things about biomedical research right now is neuroscience, in fact, which is the study of brain and neurons. I'll show you the next slides that we work on, is to allow us to see clearer and sharper and deeper using advanced pulse laser systems. So what would that bring us? Now, that would enable next generation innovation in terms of neuroscience industry. Now, next slide, I would briefly go through what is the hot topic right now. Everyone knows Elon Musk is working on a new company called Neurolink. And that is actually a company that was one of the part of the initiative in the US, started in 2013 by Obama, President Obama, that to go through into the brain science. And just most recently, last year, it was demonstrated that that a little microchip could now be implanted into brains, not human brains yet, into pig brains, in fact. And one of the enabling technology that, if you see the presentation by Elon Musk, is actually a 2-photon microscope, which allowed us to look in real time how the brain function and activities is working. So next slide, I will show you how that actually is in action. So this video you see is actually a live video taken by a very advanced laser microscope, what we call a 2-photon microscope. You will see the real-time calcium imaging and how your brain reacts to external stimulus. So that would allow us to know where to probe, where to stimulate, and where to read your data from your subject. And it would not be long that human will be interfaced with the computer, and we would then even more productive ourselves, not just the process of industry. So next slide. We'll be talking about this kind of system that we are building to enable this kind of transition, which is the laser core technology, together with digital enhancement that allows us to actually enhance the physical performance of our physical hardware beyond what is normally achieved. Next slide. Well, I could strictly briefly end it with my thought about the technology that is advanced enough that we're making innovation. But life is not as simple, because innovation also means that the market has to be ready to accept that. So unlike traditional disruptive technology, as was pioneered the idea by Clayton Christensen in his book, The Innovator's Dilemma, we talk about a lower rank technology catching up the upper market. We are actually looking at something beyond that, something that has no market, something that has technology advantage that is beyond what the market is ready for it. So that would mean creating new market. Creating new market is not easy, and certainly is an uncertain task, maybe as uncertain as the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So I would end my talk with the next conclusive point that we're trying to say that aging population in Japan is a problem, and the only way to solve it, one of the way that we think, is actually to increase productivity by massive automation. And also laser technology and ultrafast laser is a enabling technology that would allow industrial automation. And because of those innovation, this would also enable emerging biomedical applications such as brains control, brains chip, and things that we will not foresee, but there are risks involved, of course. So I would end up with that the challenge of a startup is very uncertain, but is worthwhile, and we should not be afraid of pursuing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor Sze Yun. And this is Professor Sze Yun from the Research Center for Advanced Science and Technology of the University of Tokyo. And we also have Mr. Ted Yamamoto, who used to be last year Forbes Japan top VC investor. And he used to work for the University of Tokyo H Capital as Japan's top VC investor. So there's a common link, the University of Tokyo, and both of them are also based in Tokyo, Japan. And I would like to take this opportunity to now go through some of the many questions that our live viewers have asked. And before I do so, I would like to just introduce some greetings from our viewers. So we have Mark Loeb from Malaysia. And we have Firen Ying from Cambodia. We have Kelvin Chan from Singapore. And we have many other people, as well as Dr. Colin Gan from Singapore. And from the Philippines, Ms. Nina Maria Estudillo. Hi, good afternoon from Manila. Before I move on further, I would like to take this opportunity to now take a question from Mr. Marlow that is directed to Ted Yamamoto-san. So, hi, Ted. Good afternoon. And you have investments through UTech in Singapore, the United States of America, as well as India. But I realized you didn't mention Malaysia. And he went on to ask, are there no interesting and good innovative projects from Malaysia? I think, Ted, would you like to answer this question?
Sure. So I know left UTech, so current UTech team will have their own sort of plan to expand, I'm sure. But it was just a fast sort of move us into Singapore because that was significant decision for us to make. Before that, we've been only investing in Japan and US. But around 2017, I think, we sort of noticed that Singapore government and universities like NUS or NTU have been shifting gears towards deep tech startups creation. There are sort of long history at Singapore about encouraging entrepreneurship. But before the deep tech sort of shift, I think most of the startups being discussed or sought after in Singapore were more of like e-commerce or consumer types applications or services going after the expanding Southeast Asian market. But at some point, Singapore government made the gear shift into the deep tech space, and we noticed the Singapore universities have been sort of climbing up in the sort of university ranking ranks, more focused on the research side. And that means there'll be good sort of seeds for new sort of technology invention built in Singapore. So by noticing that, we started to look at the Southeast Asia market, not only for the market of the companies we invest in Japan, but also a source of innovation. And so simply we made the fast move moved into Singapore, but I think it's natural to think about and look for the market beyond Singapore into South Asia, include Malaysia, and Indonesia. But no, I understand it's a very diverse sort of different countries. Right? You need to think carefully how you sort of go after each different market in that region. So I think UTech just made the initial step, and I think innovation will come out of any countries trying to sort of improve the productivity, or doing a trial and errors, right? So I'm sure there are a lot of innovation seeds in Malaysia, and actually I did see a few opportunities in the past, and I was very impressed. So I hope UTech will pursue that, and also I hope I'll have opportunity myself to pursue those opportunities coming out Malaysia or other Asian countries in the future.
Absolutely. Well said. As a matter of fact, to add on to Yamamoto-san, I've also many friends who are deep tech entrepreneurs and who come from Malaysia, and they have very, very strong and vibrant startup ecosystem there as well, facilitated by very good institutions, including the likes of like MAGIC, the Malaysian Globalization Innovation Center, among others. So Yamamoto-san, you are right. All countries actually have a very vibrant and deep tech ecosystem that is in incubation, so to speak. And as a matter of fact, Professor Sze Yun himself is actually also from Malaysia, but he's already been in Japan for more than 20 years, but he still has his heart in Malaysia, and he works very closely with the Malaysian tech ecosystem there as well. Yeah. Next, I would like to have another question posed again to Ted. Hi, Ted-san. This is from Ida Tahir. Do you have any examples of digitalization of service that disrupts the industry? This will be very useful too, because right now you talk about this digitalization of manufacturing sectors. Do you have any like service digitalization, service sector digitalization examples in your investment portfolio last year?
Yeah, actually, there are many such cases, and not my sort of deals, but or partner at UTech, other partners at UTech have been doing such investment, and they've been hugely successful. I think most recently, we had IPO of a company called AI Insight. They have hand recognition algorithm, and they sort of implemented that into the business sort of workflow. For example, in the banking sector or financial sector. Joshua, you may know in Japan, we still do have a lot of situations where you are required to handwrite forms,
right,
filling
exactly.
forms.
Yes, and using the Hangul as well. Yes.
Yeah. And converting those into digital sort of data is a very cumbersome task. Till now, human beings typing those handwritten sort of text in through computer, but no, we can use a hand recognition system. But the key is that how you build the business workflow, right, for that kind of a solution, including new technology, is very difficult. And this company called AI Insight, I think, was able to achieve that. And personally, I was also involved in a company called EV, based in Singapore. And the founder was from actually Malaysia, and they were trying to build AI-based scheduling assistant. Scheduling is a very hectic task right now, but now you can throw in this AI-backed email address, and this AI agent will look into your calendar and schedule a good time with the other party through natural language text, so that you can outsource those kind of tasks in text format. I think that's the future of converting service into sort of a digital format. And as AI becomes more and more intelligent, they can replace the human sort of tasks. And not free human from doing boring sort of things, right? But the service sector, I think it has difficulty because it's tend to be locally sort of influenced, right? In Japan, for example, you need to go through that wall of language barriers, to come into Japan, and also for the Japanese service companies, it's a challenge for them to go out of Japan, translate the service into English. But there's more context, right? Different in each sort of a region for this kind of service digitalization or transformation projects. So I feel it challenging, more challenges for these service-oriented companies to cross the borders. But for hardware manufacturing, it's easy, and those are the areas I've been focusing on.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mark Lode also says thank you, Ted, for your view and focus. I would like to also mention some comments from the viewers. Ms. Tara says, very, very interesting presentation. And Mr. Hikmata also says, interesting talk indeed. And Professor Tanju Singh from the Nanyang Business School, Nanyang Technological University, also says, very interesting talk. I would like to bring the next question from Professor Tanju Singh. Professor Tanju Singh would like to ask Professor Sze Yun, what are your thoughts on the paradox of automation? You talk about a automated digital transformation system. So as an automated system becomes more efficient, the involvement of humans actually becomes more critical. So his question to you, do you think the law of diminishing returns will apply to automation? What are your views on that, Professor Sze? Ted, you can chip in if you have any views on that as well. Over to you, Professor Sze Yun.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not sure if I get it right, but the question is that for a fully automated system, when it become more efficient, then the involvement of human being will become less and less. I guess that is the idea, right? So how would that do to the labor market, for example? Certainly, that is one thing that from the point of view of manufacturing, we try to get more and more efficient. And that would mean that once you have an efficient system, the whole point will be to cut labor costs, which like the laser system that we try to deploy would be to actually cut labor costs for that particular floor, for example. So these people would have to move and acquire skill or to do something else that would still need labor intensive care. So it would be eventually, if in the ideal case, it would not be an immediate transition, but it is true that more and more human beings will have less and less role. More and more will be AI assisted. And in terms of automation, it is true that we will have less and less labor kind of work, but then we would then shift into programming, for example. So we'll be training new generation of people in terms of maintenance, in terms of development of the process, something that will still need human input. But I'm not sure how far that would go, right? The emergence of quantum computer is threatening that a true AI would totally replace mankind. That would be something that I would not be familiar with in terms of how far AI would go. But in terms of a regular short-term foreseeable future, this would only benefit mankind. That's what I thought, yeah.
Thank you so much. I have another question that echoes the previous question, and this is from Mr. Kelvin Chan from Singapore. Professor Sze Yun, thank you so much for that interesting thought. Has the laser technology been commercialized in your laboratory or your business pursuits? Can you share with us on the cost of the laser technology, say for measurement and monitoring in manufacturing? Do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a really great question. In our lab right now, we're actually making laser a lot for industrial deployment. In fact, we are doing constantly joint research collaboration with a few companies. A few examples is one of them is actually the cell phone glue measurement system that we are actually working on the first prototype. We call that a MVP, the minimum viable product, and that we are planning that the laser, it will cost around about $5,000 to $10,000 if you make enough of them. But it's still expensive because generally a pulse laser system would cost $20,000 in the market right now if you buy it from a standard manufacturer. So we try to make it cheaper, like drop it to half or maybe a quarter of the price using fiber laser technologies. To remind you, one of the laser systems that I introduced, the whole full 3D measurement system that deployed into a car factory cost $500,000 for a set. So Honda actually bought 3 sets back in 2008 before the Lehman shock that threw off the car manufacturing. So they forgot that they would not do fully automation at that time. They were planning to do that at one point, but now they have delayed the plan. It's not back yet. So could be taking another 10, 20 years. But yes, laser is costly right now. But once we could reduce the price to a reasonable level, say $5,000, maybe even $1,000, it would deploy massively, we believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Set. Now, shall we just take a step back and look at something more philosophical? And this is from Dr. Colin Gunn from Singapore. So Dr. Colin Gunn says, Ted-san, how do you bring certainty out of uncertainty in your investment process, pertaining to startups? Thank you so much. Ted, do you have any answer for this one? How do you bring certainty out of uncertainty?
Well, it's a kind of philosophical question.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But it's difficult to answer, right? Well, I simply say, put it now. You try things out, and you never know until you try. What was sort of right or wrong, right? It's like you sort of need to observe in order to sort of be specific about outcome. So just try, and you'll know whether you were true or not. And that's it. I think the only way to bring the uncertainty. Certainty.
Thank you so much.
Uncertainty.
Yeah, which brings me to another question. This is from Miss Nina from the Philippines. So given a different scenario of economic landscapes across developing countries where unemployment is still a major concern, so how do you think this approach in innovation can work effectively? This applies to both Professor Set and Ted Yamamoto. Anyone game to provide a response?
Yeah, well, it's also a difficult sort of question, and to some sort of parts, I don't have much experience. But what I'd like to say is that we would need to sort of work together with Asian countries. Like for example, I saw opportunity working with Singapore, not only because there's a great sort of research and government initiative to encourage startups to come out. But I think I thought Japan could provide a good market for these deep tech companies created out of Singapore, because Singapore itself is not a big enough market, and for deep tech high-end sort of products and services, it's difficult to distribute into other parts of developing sort of countries, right? And Japan should be able to provide great sort of market opportunity for these deep tech Singaporean startups. But I notice there's not much sort of exchange or interaction between Singapore and Japan in that sort of angle, and I thought it as an opportunity, and UTech continue to sort of support that kind of interaction. And there could be opportunity to bring the innovation made in Japan into Singapore and other sort of a part of Asian countries, right? So each country will have its own strengths, and I think we should sort of collaborate more to sort of make the region prosper more. Sorry, I've been very general, but
I think this is a very good response, Yamamoto-san. Thank you so much. I would like to direct this question to Professor Set, and this is an observation from Mr. Mark Loh from Malaysia. So Professor Set, we stress on outcome and not output. So with more productive production, automation, we may require less human input in terms of managers, but not necessarily less workforce. So Mr. Malo also made another observation. So results in better quality of work life with shorter hours and highly skilled workers and better quality outcome could actually indicate higher productivity. So it's not necessarily a bad thing with automation.
Certainly, I totally agree with that. Yeah, so we're not really trying to compromise the labor market. In fact, we should be a human-centric society. So these people will not do labor-intensive job, but they will do more comfortable, higher quality job. So certainly, it doesn't. It's not really a dilemma in terms of highly automated system being deployed. So certainly, thank you very much. Very, very good comment there.
Thank you so much, Professor Sid and Mr. Ted Yamamoto. I think we don't have much time yet left, but I want to give just 1 minute for each one of you to have your concluding remarks. Anything you would like to tell the viewers out there, our 21 member countries, on transforming businesses in the new digital normal. I would like to pass the floor first to Professor Sid and then conclude with Mr. Ted Yamamoto. Professor Sid, your concluding remarks, please.
All right, thank you very much. About a quick remarks is that I think that innovation is still the core of the business and society growth, and do not be afraid of making new innovations. And as Ted was saying, that do not be afraid of failure, and that's what happened to me. That I took on to become the CEO of the startup during the time that we have a minus $6 million debt. I actually stepped in and become in charge, which is crazy to the Japanese standard. That people think that what if you fail? So I did not think that far. I was thinking one thing: you have one chance to be offered to take over a company as a CEO. Are you going to take that chance? That chance doesn't come every day. So I took a risk, a leap of faith, and it worked out. So the company did not fail. It worked well, but the end result was not as best as I could have hoped, because I did not have enough share at that time. So it was not worthwhile for me to stay any longer. So if you had the chance to make your own company, make sure that you're not afraid of failure, and make sure that you also try to get as much share as possible in your company. That's what I would advise you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yamamoto-san, your final remarks to our viewers out there.
Yeah, I cannot agree with Professor Ted more. Take more, as much shares as possible, and take risk. I think it's a great advice. In any event, no, I'm very sort of honored again to be invited to talk here, and I have
the pleasure is all ours.
The Asian Productivity Organization. I think it's remarkable for the Asian countries to come together and to
Absolutely.
sort of help each other to increase the productivity in
Absolutely.
the region. Because when I visited India a long time ago, I had a discussion with the Indian Venture Capital Association chairman, and he was saying, if Asia come together, we can produce manufacture goods in Asia, and we'll have the largest consumption market, right, in Asia.
Absolutely.
And we can prosper more, not through US or UK. While till now, Asian being the sort of a provider or manufacturer for these Western market, but if Asia comes together, we can create again consume inside this region, and that will be a huge market, and that will bring huge economic sort of growth to the region. And I think it's great that Japan is heading away in terms of aging and reducing population challenges head on. So this is an opportunity for Japan to be innovative and create new solutions. And these kind of society will sort of be followed by other nations in the region in the future. But in the meantime, some of the developing countries will enjoy the expanding and growing economy while Japan is declining. So working together, we'll find sort of a most suitable solution and the way to sort of do business in the region. And it's great that this organization helping each other to sort of find the best practices and learning each other. But I would like to say, innovation is very important, and which is difficult for to achieve through bureaucratic organizations. But I hope APO will be break that sort of common sort of challenges and be innovative and contribute to the society and market in the Asian region. And again, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Yamamoto-san. As a matter of fact, I'm particularly impressed with the fact that you mentioned how important both productivity and innovation is, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. You also remind me of the current situation of a super aging society in Japan, which is very timely as we speak, because the three of us, we are all in Tokyo, Japan. And according to Hitotsubashi, GNW module on super aging society, they are saying that right now, even as we speak, more than 25% of the Japan's population is already 65 years and older, elderly. And by 2050, according to the World Bank and the World Health Organization population projection report, more than 40% of Japan's population is going to be elderly. So this actually is going to be a trend that we need to, we cannot arrest it anymore. We can only embrace it and to look at how to improve productivity so that even elderly can be extremely productive in an economic sense, with the help of technologies, with the help of laser science, laser optics, photonics, autonomous technology, artificial intelligence, and drone technology. So very nice to have Yamamoto-san as well as Professor Sze Yun to be with us today here in Tokyo, Japan. So even though we are all next to each other, but we couldn't speak face-to-face because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wish you safe and continue to stay healthy and stay productive. And it is our greatest honor here in APO to tap on the brains of both two leading experts in business transformation in the new digital age. So without further ado, I wish you the best for you and your family. And this is Joshua Lau from the APO Secretariat in Tokyo, Japan, signing off to everyone. And please continue to stay in touch and continue to watch our APO Productivity Talk. Thank you so much, Professor Sze. Thank you so much, Yamamoto-san.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.